Doki Doki Within is a Doki Doki Literature Club fan mod that is not affiliated in any way with Team Salvato. It is designed to be played only after the official games have been completed and contains spoilers for the official game. Game files for Doki Doki Literature Club are required to play this mod and can be downloaded for free at either that place or Steam. As this is only a demo, what you see in here, including music and assets, is subject to change in the final version of the mod. By playing Doki Doki Within, you agree that you have completed the original game and accept any spoilers contained within. I agree! Sup, it's Hallie, and welcome to the demo of Within. From what the description has said, this is a mod where we are reconnecting with Monika and getting closer to her and learning more about her. Oh boy, a Monika-focused mod. Perhaps this one will survive where the others have fallen. We can only hope. But we're just going to start a new game. I'm Hallie, and we're going to see what it's like. Act 1. Something About Us. It's a regular Tuesday morning like any other. Nothing too exciting, but not entirely. It's just the basic run-of-the-mill school run. As usual, I'm waiting for Sayori, my neighbor and childhood best friend. She's the kind of person you couldn't imagine making friends with day one. But I guess it just works since we've known each other basically all our lives. In a way, she's like the little sister I never had, despite her being a whole 2 months old. I look at the clock on my phone. Come on, Sayori, we'll be late at this rate, I grumble to myself. Eventually the door of her house opens and out emerges Sayori. She's just getting her bag on, all while keeping a half-eaten slice of toast firmly locked in her jaw.
Sorry, I overslept again.
Her voice is partially muffled by the toast. I just roll my eyes and give her a smirk. I figured.
Hey!
Sayori finally takes the toast out of her mouth and speaks, her voice still slightly muffled.
Not me, Holly!
I'm kidding. I chuckle. Since we were young, it's always been easy to tease Sayori from time to time. She knows I'm joking, but her reactions are way too fun to pass up. Anyways, you coming?
Well, yeah.
Again, she's aimlessly cheery, but I know that she's been suffering with depression for the most. It took her a lot of courage to admit it to me, but I'm glad she did. If anything, it brought us closer together, and I've made a promise to her that regardless of where life takes us, I'd be there to help her through those dark days. To her credit, though, she's been doing her best to manage it. We soon start the walk up to school. With every passing minute, the street starts getting flooded with students ranging from groups of friends, those on their With Sayori and I making small talk along the way up, she then brings up something that's clearly been on her mind for a bit.
Say, you've not joined the club yet, have you?
Not yet, no. I scratch the back of my neck as my voice trails off. Admittedly, I'd not really been looking for any clubs. None of the ones I'd seen so far really piqued my interest, and the one club I'd been remotely interested in, the music club, had been closed the previous school year due to a lack of funding. This is not the right peaked, you went P-I-Q-U-E-D, my dude. I then looked over at Sayori, who seems to be remembering something.
Well, maybe you could check out my club?
That reminds me, Sayori had recently told me that she was the vice president of the school's recently established literature club. Whilst literature had never really taken my fancy, I do remember my English grades being decent at best. That, and as a budding musician, it helps to break down song lyrics to find the meanings behind each track. It kinda counts as poetry, right? Kinda. I sigh. I mean, I don't really have much else to do, so I guess I can stop by.
Yay!
Sayori lets out a cheery yawn, She then grumbles in a way that's still quite audible.
Good job, I asked Natsuki to make those cupcakes last night.
I decide to play dumb, even though I... What was that?
Nothing.
She chuckles as we now stand outside the school gates.
Anyways, see you later.
Before I can finish, she's already become one with the bustling masses. I don't even know where the club is now. Knowing Sayori, she'll realize that and let me know later though, so I can't complain too much. I check my timetable to remind me of my first period. Period 1. History. Mr. I. Sarazawa. Ah, history. One of the few subjects I'm genuinely any good at. Time to get this day. Brighter day's just starting. The school day was about as ordinary as ever, and it's over as soon as it began. Clearly, as I start packing my things, it hits me that I've not seen Sayori since this morning. She's gone to the club without me, hasn't she? By the time I get to the door, a familiar flash of peach-colored hair and a red bow catch my eye. Sayori runs up to and then holds her arms against the wall.
Give me a second.
She speaks between exaggerated breaths. You didn't need to run here, you know. I chuckle with a smirk.
But I forgot to tell you where the club is.
My earlier guess was right, I suppose. Ah, fair enough. Anyway, we going?
Yep.
Sayori beams, seeming to fully recover from her breathlessness as we start to walk up. We soon find our way up to a section of the school that I rarely visit, besides for music class. Soon enough, though, we find our way to the club room. I have a peep through the window and can spot a purple-haired girl with a gentle yet intense expression that's focused on the book on her desk. I can also hear some partially muffled voices hinting at more members inside. Sayori swings the door open and bolts into the room.
Guys, the new member's here.
But I haven't even figured out if I like the club yet. Oh well. I timidly enter the room and wave as the club's other members look in my direction. The girl with the purple hair closes her book before getting up. She speaks in a soft voice that matches her gentle expression.
So you're the Hallie that Sayori was talking about. She always says nice things about you.
A much shorter girl with pink hair that's decorated with assorted red clips and ribbons comes up.
Seriously, Sayori, you brought a boy? Way to kill the mood.
The taller girl sighs.
Natsuki.
The other girl, apparently named Natsuki, relents and averts her gaze away from me. I'm also certain that this is the same Natsuki that Sayori said made some cupcakes. Her smaller stature makes me think she may be a first-year student. Sayori then gets closer to me and whispers,
Just ignore her when she gets moody.
She then bounces back as she steps towards the other girls.
Anyway, this is Natsuki, energetic as usual. And this is Yuri, the smartest in the club.
Yuri's face goes a bit red.
Don't just say things like that.
I can imagine someone like her has a bit of a struggle keeping up with people like Sayori and Natsuki.
And of course, there's Hallie.
A voice then calls out from behind me, causing me to turn around and to meet a face I'd not seen that much since the... Monica! My face adopts a small grin. She doesn't look like she's changed too much. Then again, I have seen her around the school every so often, but we'd not had a class together since last school year. Back then, she was the most popular girl in the year, and I'm more than certain she's smart, beautiful, athletic. She's also someone way out of my league, or out of the league of a guy like me, rather. To be honest, I did develop a sort of schoolboy crush on her during the time we shared at English class, but I never worked up the courage to ask her out. We did work on group projects. I gulp. I haven't seen you in ages. How have you been? She smiles sweetly at me, still infectious as always.
I've been good, just busy as usual.
That reminds me, Monica, without a doubt, was the hardest. Her grades were always either near the top or fully on the top of the class in exams.
How about you, Hallie?
I scratched the back of my neck nervously. You know me, same old, same old. I chuckled.
Anyways, why don't you come sit down?
She gestures over to an amalgamation of desks in the center of the room formed to create a makeshift table. I also noticed that Natsuki and Yuri have gone to the back of our club room, presumably to get some other things. With a nod to Monica, I then make my way to sit next to Sayori, still feeling kinda shy. Monica eventually joins us. Whilst having the occasional chat with Sayori, I do catch her making the occasional glance over at me. Occasional. Eventually, she starts talking to me once again.
So, what made you consider the club?
I mean, I can't just lie to her. Well, Sayori mentioned it on the walk to school this morning, and I told her... I feel my face redden a little.
No need to get embarrassed.
Monica eases my nerves eases any nerves I admittedly may have had. God, I can't read today.
I promise we'll make you feel right at home, okay?
Again, I find myself smiling at her. We then hear Natsuki's footsteps approaching. I turn and notice her holding a small plastic container. Must be the fabled cupcake Sayori was on about earlier. She then places the container on the table and rests her hand on the small lip on the edge of the lid.
Okay, y'all ready?
Her voice is lined with anticipation. After a collective nod, Natsuki practically rips the lid off, revealing a batch of white fluffy cupcakes decorated.
Ta-da!
Natsuki says that with a big toothy grin, clearly proud of her work. The three of our eyes lighten up. They look amazing. I feel kind. The curse of good-looking food. Sayori's excitement overshadows everything else. We each take a cupcake and we start to eat. Honestly, they taste as great as they look. The soft texture of the white cream perfectly accompanies the taste of the small bits of chocolate. I turn to Natsuki, swallowing before opening my mouth. You made these? She raises an eyebrow.
Yeah?
These taste great. I give her an earnest smile, causing her to fold her arms and blush a little. An earnest needed A here, causing her to fold her arms a little.
Well, it's not like I made them for you or anything.
I never said you did. I decide to give up on Natsuki's bizarre logic and turn my attention to Yuri, who's coming over with a tray holding a collection of teacups and a teapot. Only one Z and 2 R's in bizarre. The faint steam hinting at freshly made tea, always a pleasant smell. You keep a whole tea set in here? Yuri smiles.
Don't worry, the teachers gave us permission.
I smile back. Well, I'm not complaining. Besides, I wouldn't turn down tea.
I'm glad.
Yuri's cheeks redden a bit as she sets the tray down and starts pouring. She then takes a seat after handing us our respective cups.
So, Hallie, what kind of things do you like to read?
I was kinda afraid of this question. Like, yeah, I've read a fair bit in the past, but nowhere near as much as anybody else in this club has, let alone Yuri. Of course, I still gotta be honest. Well, most times it ends up being like manga, song lyrics, and some other books. My voice trails off a bit.
No worries. Maybe you'll pick up something to read during your time here.
Maybe I will. I smile. I also noticed that Natsuki's head seemed to perk up a bit when I mentioned me reading manga. Maybe I'll be able to get recommendations from them both one day, who knows. As the conversations carry on between each of us, I learn a bit more about the girls' literary interests. Honestly, it's amazing that they all seem quite close despite their varied tastes. It soon gets suggested that Natsuki's been writing poems recently, seemingly on the cute side. I'm kinda curious to learn more about that. I turn to her. You write your own poems, Natsuki?
I guess.
Well, it's not a thing you'd guess.
Why do you care?
I find that impressive. Would you mind sharing them at some point?
No,
She retreats into her chair a bit.
you wouldn't like them.
Not a confident writer, I presume. Stating the obvious as usual.
I feel the same as Natsuki.
Yuri suddenly pipes up, still as gentle as ever.
Sharing that level of writing requires more than just confidence. You must be willing to show your readers your vulnerable side, even showing them the deepest reaches of your heart.
That was quite poetic, if I do say so. Or if I do say so myself. Monika joins the conversation again.
Do you have writing experience too, Yuri? Maybe Natsuki would feel comfortable if you shared some of your work.
Yuri goes to say something, but falls silent shortly after a bit of stammering. I empathize. Like, I'm not usually the best at sharing my more emotional side so freely, especially with people I've rarely just met. I glance back at Monika. I guess it's the same for Yuri, too.
Aww,
Yuri seems slightly downcast.
I wanted to read everyone's poems.
There's a moment of silence. Seemingly out of nowhere, Monika's vibrant green eyes sparkle with optimism.
Okay, everyone, I've got an idea.
Our collective gaze fixes onto Monika.
How about we all go home and write a poem of our own, and then share them tomorrow? That way we'll all be even.
There's a bit of hesitation from Natsuki and Yuri. Kind of expected that to be the case, though. I go to speak. Auto-ending text boxes are back to torment us. I'd definitely be.
Yeah, let's do it.
I am suddenly cut off by Sayori's burst of energy. How the hell do I... It does seem to put a smile on Monika's face, though. She turns to me.
And since we've got a new member now, it should help strengthen the bond of the club. Isn't that right, Hallie?
Well, I hadn't been actively considering joining any clubs full-time, but I can't deny that this club has quite a relaxed atmosphere. Be it cause of the girls themselves or simply because it's a smaller club, I still haven't quite worked that one out yet. Besides, if writing poems is what it takes to reconnect with Monika, then I'd say it's worth it. I collect my thoughts. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Oh, you're joining?
My response seems to take Sayori by surprise, even though she assumed you were joining earlier. I nudge her. Come on, you think I wouldn't join? Besides, it's kinda cozy. The feeling of happiness about my decision seems to be mutual throughout the group. Hell, even Natsuki seems glad.
If you just came for the cupcakes, I'd be super pissed.
Sounds like something I could see myself saying.
Well, that makes it official.
Whilst Monika's voice is addressing the four of us here, her eyes remain focused on me.
club.
After that, the meeting slowly comes to its conclusion. Oh, sorry, it is conclusion. It was a lot less nerve-wracking than I thought it'd be. Nerve-wracking? Nerve-wracking. Hey. Everyone seems really nice too, which makes the atmosphere that much better. I pull out my phone to make a note for tonight's assignment. Write a poem for tonight. Sayori then skips up to me as I slide my phone back into my pocket. Yeah, hang on. I sling my bag over my shoulder. Before we leave, I wave and say goodbye to the rest of the club. Whilst Natsuki and Yuri shyly wave back at me, Monika waves back in a way that's almost she's saying goodbye to an old friend. Almost if she's saying goodbye to an old friend.
See you tomorrow.
Me and Sayori then begin our journey home. All throughout the walk home, my mind is already racing about what I could write tonight. However, there's only one thing, one person in fact, that my mind keeps coming back to. That being Monika. Just Monika. I couldn't put a finger on it as to why she was floating around in my brain. Maybe it's because of my still present crush on her, I can't say for sure. All I do know is that she leaves me with this rather pleasant feeling in my chest, almost reminding me of when I first... I stop momentarily in place. My heart won't stop pounding.
Earth to Hallie.
Sayori's voice breaks my thoughts. Yeah? I turn to face her, my face feeling slightly red.
You okay?
My hands still on my chest. I feel my heartbeat starting to steady. It's nothing, Sayori. I can't tell her why I'm feeling this way. Well, at least why I think I do anyways. Just how would she even react? Just got stuff on my mind is all. The look that Sayori gives me is that one says, I can see right through you, but she doesn't say anything to confirm that suspicion. Wait, Sayori. The look that Sayori gives me is that one says, you mean one that says. Just gotta switch those around.
Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.
I bid her goodbye as we go our separate ways. Separate is two ways. As usual, I try the door to see if Mum's back from work. ... I get my key out of my pocket and let myself in. I know Mum has been working 2 jobs since my dad died, but honestly it gets lonely sometimes being here on my own. I fetch a small bag of crisps from the cupboard to keep my stomach satisfied till dinner. Making my way upstairs, I take a quick detour into my bedroom, which I can describe as a nerd's paradise, to drop my bag and get out of my uniform. Can't really focus at home like that now, can I? After that, and more snacking, I make my way to what used to be honest, for a while it's been my makeshift music studio. My room wasn't anywhere big enough to hold all the equipment gathered with every birthday and Christmas, and since we don't really have long-term guests anymore, my mom one day decided screw it and gave me the extra space. Honestly, I doubt I'd be as into music as I am now if it wasn't for her, given that she was a local singer before she had me. Despite that, our musical styles couldn't be any more contrasting. Whilst Mom's style was simply her voice accompanied by a guitar or piano, mine is far more reliant on synths with the occasional guitar and piano. Even then, I have never truly settled on a single style. I guess you could say I make whatever's on my mind. To be honest, that would explain, or I can't think of anything at the moment. Why I can't think of anything at the moment. I then head back to my room and sit at my desk. I grab a pen and a single piece of paper and start jotting down what's on my mind. It should help with writing that poem later. After about 5 minutes, I'm finished. Amidst the standard emotional stuff, there's the remnants of when I may have gone too far into my heart. Remnants. You don't need to see, basically. I must have written down and then scribbled out Monika's name at least 4 or 6 times. Even now, the thought of her makes my heart race. Maybe that schoolboy crush of mine never died? Grabbing a second of sheet of paper, I feel a new sense of determination as I start letting my heart guide the movements of my pen. That in itself is oddly poetic of me. Is that a good sign? There's really only one way to find out.